We are on.
We're on. Okay, so welcome to Moodz.
Welcome to Moodz, everybody.
This is our first episode.
Episode 1. I'm just going to give point counterpoint here. That's my job.
We're gonna see how many synonyms you can come up with.
Yes, exactly.
This
or how I
gonna-
can reinforce the obvious.
If you actually are able to do that my parents will be so impressed. They will assume you did very well on your SATs.
I don't know how. Well, okay, I'll take it. How about I'll
my
take
dad
it?
will be like, look at all those synonyms. That's amazing.
I am pretty good with synonyms.
But this is episode 1 of Moodz. The genesis of this show is...
Yeah, why are we doing this?
Yeah, we are doing this because the news sucks.
Yeah.
The news sucks right now. It has sucked for, years now. In the form that it's like, the news is like fast food. It tastes good, but it is
terrible
bad
for you. Is that it? You want to keep watching, but nothing constructive is happening.
Yeah, you gotta get news from different sources to have a better diet, right?
Okay, wow. Okay, I like this analogy. I think basically, our idea for this show is we have so much media fatigue. Everybody's got it.
Tons.
And we just the disconnect between news cycles and particularly with COVID, everybody else, your personal news cycle, and that disconnect is the genesis for the show.
Yeah,
headspace and headlines.
Yeah, and exactly. The news does get into your head, and it affects your mood. And there's no kind of escaping that. And we're just doing a reality check on the headlines.
Reality check and a personal headspace check on them.
Yeah.
How relevant are they? How we have our.
No, because sometimes we amplify it, and it doesn't need to be because the news does that to us, right? So. We are recording in a bar right now, as you can see.
Right.
It's one of my favorite bars, the Tippler.
Okay. Yep, Tippler. We are underneath Chelsea Market. For those of you who know New York, this is also known as the Google Building. So we are under Google. Which is a very strange thing to be under. We are nether Google.
It's 9 a.m., but it doesn't feel that weird to be in a bar. I don't know why.
This bar doesn't, it should be. I don't know if that's an indictment on ourselves or what.
I think
I miss bars so much that maybe any time.
I do really miss being able to just go grab a drink at a bar. We're also going to have a guest later on the show, Darius Davies.
Very bright guy, a terrific comic.
Yeah, he's based out of London. Great comic I met here in New York. Hilarious. Definitely check him out. But we'll be talking to him a little bit later to find out what's going on in London. But first, what's going on here in New York? We're just going to check the 2 local newspapers here, which... if you're not from New York, are the New York Post and the Daily News. They're basically our tabloid newspapers, but they are daily.
They are daily, and they are. We're trying to see what kind of clickbait, what kind of page turn bait they are throwing at us,
and we could start with
the Daily News. Yeah,
this
is the more liberal left wing version.
Yeah, this is MSNBC's tabloid kind of.
Right, exactly.
So the headline is. Got the governor of New York, Mr. Cuomo, on the cover, and it says "Winter of Gov's Discontent," and the subheadlines are "COVID Surge Sparks Cuomo Fear of Serious Stress on Hospital System," and "City Sets 4-Person Limit on the Visitors to Rockefeller Center." And there you go. There is the
very long
cover.
Headline, by the way.
There's
a lot of text in that headline.
Definitely a lot of text, and I don't know how this makes sense. They're saying that COVID is a serious stress on the health system.
The disconnect is unbelievable there.
Which it is. And then the next thing it says is the city's response to the stress on the hospital system is we're going to set a 4-person limit to how many people can visit Rock Center. That's the solution.
Brilliant. That's a great disconnect. It's really becoming
It's getting comical.
You're just starting to shake your head.
It's getting comical. That's first of all, living in New York for 23 years, you should have put the fucking limit on tourists going to Rock Center about 50 years ago.
Yeah, seriously.
Are you kidding me? There's way too many of those people there.
Also, can we just talk about? We have to kind of throw in a picture of this afterwards. But the tree in Rock Center is so pathetic right now.
It's a little sad.
Our office is in Rock Center, basically. And we went to take a look the other day, and it was scaffolding all the way up the tree.
I have never seen that. I've never seen that.
It was such the 2020 Rockefeller tree. It
looked like the tree had COVID.
The tree did have COVID. Rock Center had COVID. It was just... all of it was just one.
The only uplifting part of that visit to see the Christmas tree, which I never do, but I knew there wasn't going to be many people, so I went by. But the only happy moment was the Salvation Army girl volunteer dancing and ringing a bell.
Yeah, their energy was at an 11.
Oh, it was unbelievable energy.
Unbelievable. I wanted to start dancing. They were. We gave money.
Yeah, it did make me happy, but it's kind of ridiculous. That's the response. We're gonna just limit how many tourists go.
Just every non sequitur that is kind of irrelevant is thrown into the equation now. Also, I mean, let's just contextualize that a moment. The city is at now 2%, which means we're at orange. One more kind of percent up, and we go to we're from yellow to orange, and then everything shuts down again. We're back into a quarantine situation.
So Christos is just reciting the math that may force us to not go to bars.
Right, exactly.
That's how I translate that.
That is a great way.
I don't. Everyone else that's responsible and has children are looking at that to see, am my kids going to school? My response is, am I going to be able to still consume alcohol?
Right. Hence 9 a.m. in a bar today to begin our podcast. I think one thing about that headline is that it is kind of where everyone's, everyone is talking about. Are we going to be open? Also, like you and I had discussed earlier, the horizon is coming. There are vaccines in the pipeline.
Yeah, there is good news coming.
There is good news, but there is also a winter
that's going to be brutal
right now. And the good news,
it's when you're going to get out of a bad relationship, right? Once you get out of this relationship, things are going to be so much better, but you have to actually break up with them, and that's the worst.
I have never done that ever in my life responsibly.
My God.
I have never.
So you haven't done it responsibly.
No, what I typically do is death by 1,000 cuts. I will just systemically disappoint them
but that's
until
my point.
They break up with me.
You know that you are going to have to face weeks and months of just being in a relationship you don't want to be in.
Yeah. But you slowly start doing what you really want to do.
That's what this is going to be like.
That's bad.
But the bad relationship with quarantine
will end.
It's going to end.
She will break up with us.
Yeah, we're gonna dump quarantine. That's what
She's gonna dump us.
I don't care. In this instance, if I get dumped by quarantine or I dump quarantine, I don't care.
Okay,
I'm super happy.
I agree. Okay, so we'll transition to the New York Post.
Let's do it. So the New York Post is kind of the Fox News tabloid.
It is, and it's a picture of Neera Tanden, and it's fraud, cheat, hack. I think we should actually look at that headline.
Fraud, cheat, hack.
Fraud, cheat, hack. It's obviously
pretty... the Twitter headline.
Right, there's 3 exclamation points. It's a 3 exclamation point headline. So we know that the New York Post doesn't really like Neera. This is my favorite, though. So she is, what this Biden official said when Trump won in 2016.
She probably just bashed Trump.
She believed that the election was stolen in 2016. Right, there was Russian interference and so on and so forth. This is the best thing. I had no idea that this was an office in the United States government. The Office of Management and Budget.
So she's being nominated for the Office of Management and Budget.
It sounds like an immigrant wrote the title of that office.
Yeah, my parents would have been very proud if that was my job title.
Office of Finance, Office of Law.
Then this is Management and Budget.
Management and Budget.
What does that job entail?
I mean, I think it's kind of amazing because considering the United States deficit, that is pretty much a job you can fail at systematically and still keep your job. That is pretty much the best job in America.
You could basically just run $1 trillion deficit
and stay on.
And and be
good
commended.
Good job.
You're commended by senators and congressmen and congresswomen saying you did a great job.
Office of Management. What is the Office of Management? That's incredible.
It's just foreign to me that you can run at a deficit and that's a good job.
You know, you were a banker. You were caned.
Was.
You spent your early years as a banker. You were caned and drawn and quartered metaphorically every morning, and screamed at and yelled at to make budgets.
Yeah, I mean, are you kidding? I was an investment banker in the late '90s, right? So this was before any hashtags.
But that's .com era stuff.
It was.
Too, so that must
It was kind of the in between era. There was holdovers of people that. You could imagine using my name I worked at Lehman Brothers, which is just like the Death Star.
Did very well.
Just the Death Star of all banks.
Right.
And, I mean, they struggled with my name, everything. I mean, my name for 2 years was fucking Patel. That was my name.
That was your name. Well, they were obviously.
Well, I did get a nickname.
Okay, what was your nickname?
Well, it was after 2 years, they finally gave me a nickname.
Something shorter? What
gave
was
me
it?
something shorter. They dropped the Patel and the ing. They just started calling me fuck. Fuck, where is this spreadsheet?
Right.
Fuck, you're an idiot.
I've seen you use spreadsheets, and I have to say it is a thing of beauty. They taught you well. The bros taught you well.
They beat it into you that you have to. You basically, people are like, "What was it like being a banker?" I'm like, "You basically just have sex with Excel and PowerPoint."
Okay, I you know what? That is creepy.
That's
I've
what it
seen
is.
It. You are. Let me tell you, you've made love to her very well because you are so good. You are lyrical.
Horrible.
You sing. You sing.
Well, and if you're wondering, PowerPoint is not the name of a stripper with strong nipples. It's not. It's not.
Thank God for that. So wait a minute. Let's just talk about this headline for a second. Well, in terms of, I like you were talking about the idea of you were forced as a banker to make budgets. This whole idea of meeting, fiscal responsibility and
hell yeah,
you were screamed at if you were off numbers. This job does not.
No, there's no
screaming
in the management and budget.
The Office of Management and Budget.
There's no screaming. I mean, that doesn't happen. I mean, there's the guys I worked with, like, basically sacrificed their life with their families to make budget.
To make budgets. I mean, let's face it. Happy hour exists because you have to make budgets.
Absolutely.
The financial community has to. You have to make
happy
numbers.
hour for most of the guys I worked with was the hour between work ending and going home.
Of course.
And that was their only happy hour.
Right. That was literally the only happy hour between a miserable existence.
My name was still fucking Patel at the bar. That was still my name. Fucking Patel, go get us some drinks.
Maybe we should have the tippler here make a drink called the fucking Patel.
Oh, I would love that. If I had a drink named after me at any bar, I would feel like I had accomplished something.
All right.
With my life.
Let's pull back for a second. Other than the fact that it is interesting that both elections were "quote unquote" contested, although in very, very different means. This headline to me, in terms of my headspace, this is old news. I could give a shit what happened.
Who cares?
In 2016.
I mean, it's another confirmation.
Honestly, it's just more. It's just silly. The whole. I mean, honestly, it's.
Well, also what's coming, right? Like they're basically saying we're gonna sacrifice her, right? We're gonna put her up for confirmation. They're gonna hate her. She's not gonna get the job, and they'll be like, yeah, well, you see, we gave you somebody that you didn't confirm. We'll put someone else in there.
Right. Now
right?
You can't fight the second person. Right.
She's like a wingman.
Or she's the scapegoat.
Or the scapegoat.
She's one of the two. It's interesting. But it's a fairly useless headline.
I think it's totally useless.
I
think the Daily News today, winter of Gov's discontent. I mean,
we know it's coming.
Let's face it. That's in my headspace. It's in every New Yorker's headspace. What the hell is coming this winter? Because we knew this was coming, and everybody lived through March and April, but it's going to be cold.
This is back to that point where you and I had discussed this, which was, I kind of judged my headspace in COVID. There's so many ways to do it, but really it came down to I'd open up my closet or I wouldn't. And I just wore, instead of 100 items, it was 3. I just cycled through 3 items.
Yeah, no, I mean.
And it was Groundhog Day on so many levels, but visually it was Groundhog Day. Not personally, my own personal image.
That's interesting.
Self-image, right?
Yeah, I think that's for a lot of people, particularly in New York where, it's a very fashion-driven city.
Right. All of a sudden black was irrelevant. I mean, black and gray are the two New York. That's like the flag of New York City.
Yeah, so for me it's not so much my wardrobe, it's my sense of time. Like I definitely feel jet lagged and I've gone nowhere. I've gone from like my kitchen to the deli and back, and I feel jet lagged from that.
Like you did also acquire a beard, which I have to say is pretty great. Like because most people got it and lost it. You kept it, which I think is pretty terrific. But you did get haircuts, which is interesting as well because I looked like Christopher Lloyd in Back to the Future. In fact, I kind of still do. And you have... your parents trained you well. Oh, you're fine. Yeah, you're fine. Your financial career also.
Well, I have immigrant parents, right? So as you do too. Yes. And with immigrant parents, their worst fear when they come to this country, worst fear, not me getting hooked on drugs or a teen pregnancy or a failed career.
Right.
It's none of that. Is I cannot have my child turn into a hippie.
Yeah.
And it starts with the haircut.
Yep.
That was one thing my parents were never frugal about. You are getting a haircut. You're getting it timely. And
you will be presentable.
Absolutely.
You will make us look good.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, and that is one thing that I did miss during the first lockdown. I was like, man, I cannot wait to get a haircut.
Well, okay, just on that subject, Mahul is... we're gonna button this before we get transition to Darius. I have to mention this because it's an incredible detail. You're telling me you're going to get a haircut.
Yeah.
And you're like, the barber or whatever you went. It was a hairdresser. What kind of was it? Was it like a?
It's kind of an in between.
Okay.
It's in between a salon and barber.
Right. Okay. The guy's like, listen, just bring a picture of the haircut you want. Which I have heard a million times. I've done it before in my day. I'm sure everyone has. And what did Mahul Patel do? This is who Mahul Patel is.
This is humiliating.
A picture of himself to the barber. He brings a picture of himself. Who does that? Who? I have no idea who does that. That is the most incredible thing. You show the picture. You're like, this is what I want to look like. I want to look like me.
Yeah, so it was a picture from, I don't even know, it was like right before COVID. And I'm not photogenic. And this happened to be a picture where I was like, oh, I look presentable.
Right.
So why? And I had never used this guy before to get a haircut. So I was like, you know what? For the first time, I'm going to show him a picture like everybody else does.
Right.
And so I showed him a picture of myself, and he just hit pause. He hit pause, started laughing hysterically. Couldn't even get the words out. He's like, dude, this is you. And I was like, yeah, well, who else would it be?
That's kind of incredible.
And then he went to the receptionist who also is a hairdresser. She's doing double duty. She's like, I've been here 10 years.
And no one
has ever brought a picture of themselves.
Yeah, man, that's kind of an incredible detail. I can't tell, is it narcissism or is it just... incredibly, you're just like, no, this is where I am. This is who I am. This is where I want to be. I want to be the best version of myself.
I think it's, I want to hit expectations. I don't want false expectations. If I walk in there with a picture of George Clooney, I'm not walking out of there looking like him. I know that. I know that for a fact. I'm not looking like him walking out of there.
I like it.
I may as well go in there with the expectation of coming out looking like myself.
I like it. It's you clearly were an analyst in a prior life. Yeah.
I was. It was a prior life. It was a prior life. But the narcissism, that's
a whole different subject.
There's probably some in there too. There's probably a little bit in there too.
On that note, I think we should talk and just kind of get a little bit of a head. We have Darius, who's a wonderful comic, and get a taste of what sort of he's been going through over the past year, really, and what a comic's life is like in London.
And also just as a guy who's going back and forth from Scotland and London,
right.
Just kind of seeing what's going on in both of those places, and I think everybody on the planet is looking forward to the same thing right now, is this vaccine and getting back to things like this, going to a bar. So we'll dial up Darius and see what he's up to. All right, so we're on. So we've got Darius Davies here. He's based out of London. Great comic.
What's up, people?
How's it going? I met Darius a few years back here in New York, and we've stayed in touch. And obviously we haven't seen one another since COVID started.
Yep.
But he's still been performing like crazy out in London and in Scotland as well, since you do go back and forth to both places. And unfortunately here there's a lot less comedy, it sounded like, going on in New York versus London. But thanks for popping in and giving us some color on what's going on in London. We can start actually by taking a look at your main newspaper out there, The Guardian, and the headline. Today's headline is Labour delivers blow to Johnson's COVID plan as Tory rebels circle.
That's a fucking mouthful. Holy shit, that is a terrible headline.
That's like, that headline's giving me a headache.
Wow. Is that what the newspaper is like in England? I mean, what? You guys are so much better than we are. It's sad.
Well, I mean, that is a particularly boring headline.
It is. This is an awful headline. This is like, so if there's a teacher right now trying to teach a class by showing the newspaper in London, those kids are all drawing pictures of that teacher right now. This is horrible.
The last three words, Tory Rebel Circle, sounds like some kind of punk rock band from like the late 70s. It's like, I mean, it's kind of, it's a mouthful.
It does, but it does look like COVID is still kind of front and center out there. And I'm just curious, Darius, you're going back and forth from London to Scotland. I mean, I guess just culturally, are people treating COVID and dealing with it the same, or is it a little bit different, Scotland versus London? I mean, just how people's kind of mental headspace is dealing with this.
I think it's pretty similar, but maybe Scottish people are taking it a little bit more seriously.
Okay.
So Scotland had you had to wear in fact, in Scotland, you have to wear masks in all shops, for example, whereas in England, I mean, it's suggested, whereas in Scotland, it's it's mandated by law.
And what if you don't wear one? You just get shamed?
Well, yeah, but also you could theoretically get arrested, though I don't know how many arrests the Scottish police are actually making.
Right. Yeah, it's same. It's similar here.
But in England, you can go into the shop without, like, I forget my mask all the time, not on purpose, just because, sometimes you forget a mask and no one really says anything. In fact, no one says anything.
Yeah, here it's mostly the shaming. People just pull out their phone and start recording the antics of somebody who refuses to wear a mask, and then it goes viral. That's basically the penalty, is you're going to be put on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at some point.
Yeah, Darius, I really love that joke. For those of you who are listening, Darius has this great joke about how bad a neighborhood he lives in is, and the context of his neighborhood. Have you noticed, we'll talk about that a little bit, like your transition, you go from neighborhood to neighborhood. Do you notice, is there a different kind of like mentality on the street? Because I know here in Manhattan, when you're in sort of more posh neighborhood, you do get, like you said, you get shamed. People start screaming at you. There's a response.
Oh, yeah.
There's a very, very tangible response. What about in London?
I mean, not really. I think America, you guys are so divided, and like I said, the mask, for you, the mask isn't just a symbol of wearing a mask. The mask is basically the equivalent of the opposite of a MAGA hat. I think there's that kind of
it's the negative MAGA.
The counter.
Negative MAGA hat. So if you're not wearing it, yeah. So I think, and I think that's why I said, oh, look at this. And in England, like on tube, the subway, you're meant to wear a mask, and I'd say 9 out of 10 people now are wearing masks. Maybe one person isn't wearing a mask, whether they forgot it or they just choose not to, or they've got, breathing problems. But we're British, so the most we'll do is tut. That's how we signal, and that's like complete, and that's like the most ultra disgust when someone tuts at you. That's a British person.
What's a tut? Give us a tut. Give us a tut. Well, that's a massive.
That basically translates into British like, wow, a million curses upon your family.
Is that our equivalent of the middle finger or the?
Yes.
Is it?
The tut is your equivalent of a nuclear bomb. So why you tutted at me?
Wow. Okay.
So it's serious.
It's serious, but it's not like we're not. I just think America is just so divided now, and there's so much opportunity to content that it just, they go viral and they share. People they're just looking. Oh, I'm going to shame someone. I'm going to cause an incident. But in England, we don't have that yet. So
we haven't exported that yet. We
have
not exported that to you yet.
I know we have exported it. We just don't have it yet. I can see that it might get to that point, but right now at the moment it's not there.
Now in Scotland, do they have the tut? That's
what is the Scottish tut?
Because wait. First of all, Scottish
tut's like a headbutt. Their Glasgow kiss, they call it.
Glasgow kiss is a headbutt. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a headbutt. Yeah, Glasgow kiss.
That's good, solid.
Scotland, headbutt.
Yeah.
Yeah, headbutt. That's how they express their displeasure. They're more forthright than English people. In Scotland, there's been less opportunity for me to be in a place where people would have to wear masks and they're not wearing masks. So, I don't ride public transport there.
So also, you guys have also been dealing with this for about the same amount of time that we have in New York and in the States. Where are people as far as their patience with this? Like, how much longer do you think people will be not shaming people and not kind of going crazy about this? Because, kind of where are you guys? You guys have sort of a mini shutdown right now, or are you guys out and about?
So we are kind of opened up, and now we're back in another lockdown, which ends tomorrow. Recently, a celebrity was just an English one, just had a party with 30 people, and people are kind of going mad. Another guy had a party and people are going mad. But I get the sense just from watching. But first of all, I feel that everyone's finished now. They're bored of lockdown, and it's coming into Christmas. But I also get a sense there's a vociferous part of the population that are like, yeah, we've got to do lockdown, and they're trying to be good, but then they're also they're probably breaking the rules, going to house parties and stuff, but insisting there's a lockdown, and it's all like
starting to fray.
It's people are done with it now. It's just bored. Like, there's still people who are kind of want to be do-gooders. Like, I don't know. Just it's a mess. It's a mess, honestly.
Darius, do you have this thing where, like, the way to answer your question, for whatever lockdown happened, I kind of gauge it by my wardrobe choices. Like, it's just all of a sudden, whatever I had as a closet got cut in half, and then got cut in half again, and then cut in half again.
Yeah,
and I pretty much cycled 2 or 3 items of clothing for 3.5 months. I like, all of a sudden when things opened up, I was like, oh my God, I can wear a jacket and a button. Like, what? All these things, like, I'm not just 3 hoodies. Have you been cycling through that stuff? Where are you? There you go. Exactly. Is that the comfy Coco hoodie?
That's level 6 COVID. That's level 6 COVID.
Yeah, everyone's just in hoodies and tracksuit bottoms. We don't even know what jeans are anymore.
Right? So, it's kind of incredible.
No, it is incredible, particularly when you're in cities like London and New York, where it's fashion central, and it's just not the case anymore. One of my friends, she's total fashion diva, and she told me that she's literally putting her sweatpants on hangers now because
I am.
She's she's treating them with the proper
shorts.
respect of everyday attire.
Respect.
And it's actually made it onto a hanger.
Right.
That's how bad. And this is not somebody that I don't even think in 15 years of knowing her I've ever even seen her in sweatpants. So I was amazed that she even had a pair.
Yeah, this is my point. So, have you guys, everyone looks like a kind of an extra from the Warriors film. I don't know if you remember, everyone's like in like a red tracksuit or something like. That's a great movie. So tell us a little bit about being a comic right now in London. We had talked about this a little bit. You're traveling back and forth. Are you doing stand-up in Scotland?
Well, no. So right now, there's no stand-up at all. None. There was stand-up, and I was gigging a lot. Then it shut down, and tomorrow it's opening. I've got a gig on Sunday, and then we'll see how it is. As a stand-up during like lockdown, like now, some people are writing and they're doing TikToks and making content, and that's great. And I just can't. I'm not a fan. I mean, I've just, I don't know. I just can't do it. I've done a little bit of writing, to be honest, and I wrote some new bits that I'm going to try, but haven't really made any content like that. But then also online on like Facebook and stuff, obviously, because the comedians are so bored, they're all turning on each other. So every now and then something happens and someone's cancelled online for some reason or other.
An uproar.
Well,
an uproar.
You remember when Chris D'Elia came out, was outed as like a Me Too sex pest or something in July? So then that produced a UK version of that, and that was quite big news for a while. Few comedians, and now they're popping back up. So it's just like stuff like that. I think everyone's just bored. So when they're bored, they just turn on each other.
Yeah.
So the theme is boredom. The theme in the UK is boredom.
Well, eventually the boredom will end, right? Now that they're announcing vaccines and all of that. But, obviously I think all of us are skeptical of any headline that puts an outside date on anything. I'm just wondering, I mean, in the U.S., I think nationally, once we start seeing sporting events happen and locally being able to go to bars, that's going to be the real signal, not so much that there's a vaccine that's being distributed. When you can do those two things, I think that's what people are going to be like, life is coming back. Is it any different in London, or is there any kind of social event that will be more symbolic than Pfizer announcing 1 billion doses have been sent out?
No, it will be like that. It will be like you say, when you can just go out for a drink after work and when there's no social distancing and stuff like that. So that's kind of what, although to be honest, just before this lockdown, it was pretty normal. The pubs were open, they just closed a bit earlier, and that was all kind of normal.
So that was normal. Well, it looks like we're looking forward to the same thing, just getting drunk.
Yeah, I mean, we are a former colony, so that doesn't kind of strike me as too odd. Great.
It's in your DNA.
It's in our DNA to follow you guys. Yeah, it's drinks, although we do go a little bit later.
Well, we're going to start the Tut movement.
Seriously.
That's happening. I'm gonna try to use that today at some point. Exactly. I like the Tut movement. But before we say goodbye, Darius, I mean, eventually you'll make it back to New York. Yes. I'll see you again. But is there a particular meal that's very American that you're going to order the minute you get here?
Well, it's not very American, but it's what I had in New York. And I think it's best noodles, and that's opposite where you are. It's in Chelsea Market, and it's very fresh noodles. I don't know if you ever had it.
No, but it sounds delicious.
It's called
that's the name. I think it's Very Fresh Noodles. That's the actual name of the place. And they have like a special noodle bowl, and they make them in front of you. You see them making the actual noodles. And honestly, anytime anyone would come to New York, it's not expensive, like $12 or something. I would take a friend there, and they couldn't believe how delicious it was, even if you didn't like noodles. It's the best noodles.
Can't believe I've never heard of this.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it.
Go. You're in the Google building, right?
We're literally in Chelsea Market.
We are.
We are nether Google. Yeah.
Okay, so go. If it's open, opposite. I think it's called Quick or Very Fresh.
We're going after this in your honor.
Get their signature bowl and then tell me if they're delicious.
Fantastic.
We will absolutely do that.
And other than that, when I come back to New York, I always get a burger from the best burger in New York. It's near the Comedy Cellar. It got what's it called? It's in a pub on the corner.
It's also Midtown.
I forget the name.
It's on McDougal, and I know exactly where it is. It's the corner. It's a pub on the corner, white pub. What the hell is the name of that place?
Mellon.
It is JG Mellon's. It is JG Mellon's. Yeah.
I don't think it is JG Mellon.
Oh well, that's the one on the corner.
Oh, maybe it is JG Mellon. I can't remember.
It is.
Well, it doesn't matter. There's no shortage of good burgers. We
knew the burger was coming. The noodles was kind of an interesting thing to get.
The noodles are so good. I'm telling you, the noodles are.
All right, if they're not, you're getting a tut. You're getting my first one if these noodles are not orgasmic. I think we're gonna have to record
each other giving tuts. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, let me know.
We'll let you know, man.
Thanks, Darius. Appreciate it, man.
Stay safe, Darius.
Right, thanks for having me, guys. Take it easy. Stay safe.